Mother, how long have we been traveling?
Approximately 24 days.
Ash? Any suggestions from you or Mother?
No, we're still collating.
I've got access to Mother now, and I'll get my own answers. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Clara, but you can call me Mother. And you are listening to Yutani, the podcast for all things alien, AI, robotics, sci-fi, and technology. Hello, this is Clara, but you can call me Mother, and welcome to another episode of the Yutani podcast. Now today I've got two special guests joining me. We've got Wayne Haag and Ev Shipard.
Hi, Mother. Hi, guys. Hi, Mother.
Oh, it's been so long. Been trying to catch up with both of you. You've been quite busy travelling around the world, working for Ridley Scott and things like that. Thank you very much for remembering me and finally doing it.
Well, it's okay to sort of, we have to keep in touch with the little people because we're, big and famous.
Yes, that's
so
right.
We sort of feel like we have to touch base with, get lower down and...
Yeah, keep your feet on the ground.
That's right. Yeah. Because it's a glorious, wonderful lifestyle working the film industry, I can tell you that.
If people can't tell out there, that's sarcasm.
Yeah.
Okay. Down the wrong pipe. Wow. Thank you. I've got your back. That was a joke, right?
So, just before we get underway, I've got a couple of questions from people from our Patreon and from our Facebook fan page. We've got Benjamin Scottford, who's asked two questions. So, he asks, was there any of your work that didn't get carried over into the film that you would have liked to see featured?
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, sorry, I'm just going back. It's been a while, but...
There's a lot of individual pieces of artwork that we would have created that we were sort of mentally sifting through, but
yeah,
not off the top of my head.
There's a variant, I guess we can talk about that stuff. I don't know if we can talk about that stuff.
If you like.
There was a sequence with the graves that I played around with earlier with this giant white tree, this massive white tree. And there was some nice artwork that was going in a nice direction, but it due to script changes, it didn't go in that direction. We ended up with the Bockland Garden, which looked really cool.
Oh, so the white tree, that was the garden that David was supposed to walk through with Walter. Yeah, because that was in early scripts. We've analysed that, so yeah, that would have been interesting.
Read an early script?
Yeah.
Oh.
And we've had a look at that and picked it apart, so we've known about that for quite some time now.
Okay.
That would be cool if we could see that work, but yeah, that would have been nice.
Just for whatever reason, script reasons, budgetary reasons, whatever reason, we were often not privy to that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
On the fly, often it's better for the story. You might be cutting out and just cutting the chap, making sure it's more streamlined. But we explore. Obviously, when you're starting in pre-production, you're starting with early scripts and you're designing for that. Things shift, things change. It was a big space too. I think that was the concern, that it was really massive. We dealt with a whole lot of really big sets on this production. The biggest set that I've ever worked on was the Hall of Heads.
Yeah, that was amazing, by the way. I really loved that.
It absolutely filled the stage, and it wasn't the full Hall of Heads that filled the stage. We had to cut it down to fit. There were a lot of sets that were very, very big.
Yeah, those heads were literally cut off below the eye or halfway through the nose. So
and we didn't have the full round.
The heads were half-sized. There was only two heads. They weren't even full heads either. They were chopped off above the eyebrow, above the brow.
Stairs, yeah.
So the top of the heads were missing. So those two heads near the stairs, and then the rest of the heads were cut off below halfway through the nose.
Yeah.
And so there was digital extensions above that. And they were massive. Even just walking to that set was huge.
You guys got to actually go to the set, whereas I think usually with concept artists, they're just in the studio and they don't really get to be there physically.
We got to walk around the set, when it was wet down, lit, as it was being built, with the talent there, with the crew there. It was amazing. Seeing a set lit for the production like that you've been working on for, say, 6 months is a pretty amazing experience.
Wow. Was it cold?
It was, actually. I think
Oh, well,
by that time it was close to winter anyway.
Well, we started in the middle of, Sydney summer. It was like 42, 43 degrees at some points. Yeah. So we went through that all the way through winter. So, yeah.
And that was like we're just going to remind the listeners, this is like 10 years ago when you guys were working on this.
Yeah, it felt like 10 years.
Feels like, yeah.
Ben also wanted to ask, how much do you feel your artwork impacted the mood and the tone of certain scenes or environments?
Well, it depends. If the script says this scene takes place in a white room, well, you're not gonna paint up a red room.
Yeah.
So you do what the script is, you do what the director's going to tell you, or what his instructions might be, and then which is passed through the production designer. So you're already in the ballpark. Mm. You're not going to go off reservation too much.
Yeah.
And maybe in the early days when you don't know the production designer and they don't know you and they don't know what your style might be, you might miss the target a little. But for the most part, I think we all seem to pretty nail it pretty early on, depending on what the thing was. And if we didn't, it's only because Ridley may not have known where he was going with it at that point, not because we got it wrong. It's just that he wasn't sure. But I had a pretty good strike rate, I think. I think we all did, for the most part.
We each had our own individual areas to focus on. Initially, it was more a scattered approach, and we're working on bits and pieces, but then we kind of refined down to our own kind of sets, and I don't know if we got ownership of those sets or those concepts, but we had the original material from the first film to riff on to start with, and they developed some amazing stuff that was over and above what we saw in the film. Amazing team of artists working on that. And then I don't think we kind of had our own sets that we worked on. I think for me it was all about, Wayne had Plaza. I had some early Plaza stuff that I really had Hall of Heads and David's Lab. They were my babies. And the Egg Room. And, I think it's nice to compare some of the concepts to the final film. And from what I recall, we're watching it again now, but as we speak, but from what I recall, some of that's pretty close. So, I think we had a definite impact on the mood.
Ridley's one of those guys that uses concept art. He's thinking of it visually anyway. And okay, as an example, let's just say you created 10 versions of a particular scene. Then he's got something to choose from. Now, any one of those 10 could work equally as well as the other. It's just that he's picked one he's liked, right? But we don't paint 10, we paint one. And he looks at it, and he's already got the filter in his head that says, yeah, that'll work. It's not quite what I thought of, but it'll work fine. It'll work equally as well as any other concept that's kind of like that, and therefore I'll accept it. And if it's too far outside of what he's thinking, he probably would have said so straight away. Or like, no, change that, that's not what I was thinking.
Or he'd sketch up a Ridleygram.
Or he'd sketch up something himself and say, no, this is more what I was thinking. We were, so far off target. But for the most part, he looks at it. He can identify it immediately at a glance and say, yeah, that'll work, and I'll accept it. And he's just, that's it. The decision has been made at that point.
And do you feel like it was pretty quick going all the way through with his decision-making throughout the process, or there was some parts where he would just keep on getting you to redo something over and over until he was happy with it?
Well,
we didn't have that experience.
Yeah, the rock stars that we are. Certainly myself.
It did happen.
I was pretty, luck more than anything. But I think I think it comes down to really knowing that, yes, that he can look at something and go, that'll work. I don't have to debate it. I don't have to change every little thing. And I think that'll work. And therefore he says, good enough, let's move on. That's done.
But often enough, I know with some of the stuff that I was presenting for, say, the egg chamber or something like that, I'd present 4 value studies and before I moved on to more final concept art. And Ridley would, often then you'd get a Ridleygram. Ridleygrams are little Ridley illustrations that he does on, say, A4 sheet in ink with a pen, and they're very descriptive. He likes to communicate visually, but often they'd come kind of after you presented something, either reinforcing something that you're doing or a slight variation to it. It's nice to think that they all started as really grand, but often, it's an idea that he's kind of riffing on during a meeting that he's had with the production designer and with the team. So, and then you just take that into account and develop your frame up, and off you go. And it is an iterative process, but it wasn't crazy. It wasn't difficult in that sense.
Yeah, I think with a lot of, say, Ev stuff in particular, because it was on the Holy Heads and a lot of those interior sets, those sets and the build of the sets and all the physical construction, so on and so forth, was probably more a barrier to any of the designs more than anything else. It just comes down to, okay, let's change that. We can't build that, or there's
how
cost.
do we fit it in?
How do we fit it in? There's cost considerations and so on and so forth. Whereas most of the stuff I did was more sort of external, it was outside, and that was all going to be visual effects. So I think they didn't really care about, not that they didn't care about the cost, but there was no physical limitations to what was going to be built, because it wasn't physical for the most part.
It's really amazing, though, because it's quite a smooth transition between the practical effects and the visual effects, at least with the sets. I know there's been a few complaints about the actual aliens themselves, but when it comes to the sets, it's seamless. If we didn't see the before and after pictures that people have put up, and you've put up, we wouldn't have been able to tell, I don't think.
The VFX guys did an amazing job. And it was a nice project where we transitioned. Wayne transitioned for a while, I transitioned for a little bit into VFX, and it's something where Chris, the production designer, wanted to smooth that transition across from pre-production, production, and into post-production. It rarely happens. Often everyone in post-production are reinventing the wheel, whereas this was nice in that we kind of fed into that pipeline. Obviously, a hell of a lot of work had to be done by the VFX guys to visualize all that kind of stuff, but at least they had the aesthetic, the feel, the mood coming from the original concept team that, were working on the stuff in pre and production.
Yeah, I heard that there was a working together with practical and visual effects this time. I was speaking to Adam Johansson at Art Studio, and he was saying how, it was in the past, it was all different sections, people wouldn't talk to each other, and it's very different now. Everything kind of goes hand in hand, and you all kind of work together to get a result, which is really great, because you can tell in the movie.
During David's lab, Chris would take me aside and say, come on, let's go and visit the guys at Odd. Off we go, walk across the road at Fox and go and check out what they were working on, look at some of the pieces. They were doing all sorts of interesting stuff that wasn't specifically designed for things, and Chris would say, how about we use this or this? And it was a really open, interesting process. So when we were doing the concepts, we were incorporating some of the stuff they were doing. So it wasn't totally compartmentalized. It was a nice open flow of ideas.
That's really great. Ev was saying that he was referencing St. Bartholomew with the Engineer City and the statues and stuff like that. And then in David's lab, they were doing something very similar with the vivisected engineer. It all seems very cohesive, like it was all part of the plan. Was it planned that way, or it just happened because of that communication that you guys had and free flow of information?
I think so. I think it was planned that way. I think Chris wanted it to kind of flow that way. I think he wanted that sort of overarching, I want to say control. It's not control, it's what is control? He's a production designer, and he wanted to make sure it all flowed into post-production and effects and everything. And I think, it worked well. One of the productions that I've worked on where that was very, very smooth and that there weren't any hiccups. It's just nice.
Well, I know from working in a recent Ridley production or job that Chris reiterated that Ridley was very happy with that process. Ridley was very happy with the process of the post-production concept art, where we'd be given the live-action frame, so that we straight footage, and then we just paint back into that. So the concepts were very similar to what we had painted already, but now this is based on the actual footage. And really just thought that helped, tremendously, and it helped the VFX guys a lot. So that transition, switching over from one to the other was really helpful.
That's really cool. I've got another question from Aaron Percival, also known as Corporal Hicks at AVP Galaxy. Someone who was interviewed in Cinefex magazine, I wasn't able to find out who, said that he thinks that it's in our DNA that we and the engineers built city designs like Rome, and he wanted to know what you guys thought about that concept.
The only thing I would say about that sort of thing is that the whole Fibonacci spiral or the golden mean and those sorts of ideas are evident in nature anyway, which means that's proportion.
Yeah.
And if that's evident in the universe, and if it's evident at a macro scale, like, galaxies, and then down into, the micro level, it's a fractal idea, then maybe it is the whole idea of proportion and beauty and so on. And therefore, our eventual discovery of certain design principles turn out to become architecture or other things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether it's in our DNA, but it's certainly evident in the universe.
I just want to say I couldn't pick a better bunch of jerks to get marooned on a distant planet with. So, to the Covenant!
To the Covenant!
What did you guys think of the movie overall? Entertainment factor, story, characters, design?
Oh, the design kicked ass. I mean, except for that, there was all those drawings and stuff hanging in, David's lab that were a bit ropey. And that stuff was kind of like, what's that,
Oh, those are fighting words.
So 2 guys downstairs, all they got to do was basically sit around, kick back, draw these charcoal drawings. It was all arty-farty, take it easy. It was sort of like, they would give us shit because they were doing real art and we were doing computer art.
Wow. Also, guys, that's sarcasm. I'm sure Dane will get you guys back at some point.
Where do you start with that? I guess it's a beautiful looking film. Overall, and that's not just the design and stuff that the teams we worked in did and the art department, but it's stunningly shot. It's a really nice looking film. I guess story wise, we've all got our own personal issues with things and what we like about it, and what we don't, and what we wanted to see more of. But that's the thing. You work on projects for, 6 months to a year, and you don't really know you don't really know how it's gonna come together. And things shift. You have audience screenings, and they change the bias. They change the momentum. They change how the picture works. So you don't kind of know how it's gonna come out, but, no, it's a really nice looking film. I think we should be proud of the work that we all did.
You can't fault any of it. We're looking at shots of these guys walking up the mountain at the moment, and
stunning location.
Like the costumes are fantastic, and the location and the set builds. You can't fault any of their technical production whatsoever.
There's some dodgy decisions made by the characters, but they're all.
Well, but that's the story, right? So
Yeah.
that's just idiot characters.
I need you back here right now. I need you to come back to Atlanta right now.
I understand that, but we are moving as fast as we can.
It's like, I don't know, okay, they're walking up to that mountain, right, and they see, as far as they're concerned, as far as those characters are concerned, they've never seen an alien artifact, ever. Right? As far as they're concerned, they're the first humans to ever encounter an alien artifact of any sort. And they're kind of like, oh, ho-hum, ho-hum. We'll go in, we'll have a look around. And then they get the, the phone call from the guy down below that's a little bit sick. Oh, we'll be right there. Screw him. Like, dude, we're in an alien ship. I don't care whether you're bleeding out your ass. We are down. You have no idea what we found here. This is history in the making. No. Oh, we'll be down in 10 minutes. It's all right. Yeah. Come on. Seriously?
That's great.
just that kills me right there. Yeah. I'll be like, you guys go. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to look around at this shit. This is, this is full on.
Any character who takes his mask off on an alien world deserves, his or her mask off, deserves to get it, right?
I will do that too, you know.
That happened in Prometheus as well.
Yeah, it's like they just don't learn, do they? As humans. Oh,
At least Kane had an excuse. He still had his spacesuit on. Maybe that's something that they should have done.
Right, so now that's an interesting, that's a very creepy idea, right? Because you've still got your spacesuit on, but yet something can still penetrate that. That's when you go, okay, doesn't matter what sort of protection I've got, I could be in trouble. But maybe the ship has all sorts of sensors and they know what bugs or what microbes are out there.
But we're just looking at it now, and what a stunning location Milford Sound was for it. We did a ton of concepts for various different locations, and a lot of the work that we do is, I guess, proof of concept type work, where there might be a specific location they want to shoot in. The recce team, the production, has got this idea. Look, we're going to shoot here, and there was one out west, past Sydney somewhere, and we nailed There was a whole bunch crazy day when we did about 6 concepts each one afternoon after lunch to try and justify this location. And essentially, it looked cool in our concepts. In the end, it looked fine. It looked like it would work, but they settled on Milford Sound, which was perfect. And it just looks amazing, especially with all the VFX additions and everything. It's just such a cool looking location.
Yeah, there was things like the explosion of the shuttle. There was the stuff going up the mountain in the trees. There was a whole pile of stuff that we had to pump out from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to, I think we left there about 8 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah, and the production was looking
at
places all over Australia, including Victoria.
Victoria. I think we did it a couple of times, didn't we?
Yeah.
There was a couple of different... So what they were doing was we get these shots, these photographs from the location guys, and we'd paint over them really quickly. And then all this stuff would be sent back to them wherever they were. And that gave the guys over there, the production, really to look at and say, yep, that's feasible. Yep, this location works. With these additions, with these enhancements, we can actually, this would be fine. Or no, it wouldn't, whatever the case might be. So we were just pumping this stuff out really, really fast. Which no one will most likely see because they're super rough.
But it's a real functional part of what we do. There's definitely a means to an end here where, I've done it on a number of projects, recently prior to Alien on Hacksaw Ridge, it was the same sort of deal. And Unbroken, actually, when we're using locations, we wanted to use, one location for multiple seasons and multiple scenes. And this happens a lot. And it's purely a logistical thing, a production-based thing, but it comes down to you pumping out a whole lot of artwork to kind of justify it back to, say, the studio or the production that this can actually work visually. So it's a nice kind of thing that you do, and it's pretty full on, but it's one of those things that probably you don't, that artwork doesn't come out. It's not the best looking stuff. It's kind of very quick and very rough, but you develop a shorthand and we developed a whole lot of tree brushes and all sorts of crazy stuff for that one.
Super rough and ready. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you created me, who created you?
Out of, I guess, the crew, which character did you like the most, and which one did you not like?
The crew.
Oh, the crew of the Covenant. Not the production crew.
we can't like David.
Yeah. Oh well, I was going to say, Matt Hatton's okay. Dane,
David wanted to get with everybody. I kind of like him. I think he had the right idea. Yeah. These people all turn up to an alien planet, take off their masks.
Yeah, he's just like, you don't deserve to none of you deserve it.
Make it happen. Yeah.
What did you guys think of the Neomorph? Do you think it's a worthy addition to the alien lore?
We're looking at it now on the big screen.
Well, we're looking at the baby versions just come out of the guy's back.
It's a Neomorph, yeah.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, it is a Neomorph. I got to hold the puppet for that. That thing is so cute.
Disgusting.
Doesn't look cute here, I can tell you.
I love it. It's adorable.
It's eviscerating one of the characters, it's just tearing her apart.
So we're looking at all the sets, and we've walked around these sets, and
this is nasty.
And blood on the floor.
I can't believe I worked on a film like this. Yeah. What's my son going to think? He can't watch this.
How old's he?
Oh, that's it. Get the foot caught in the door.
He's 8. Oh. My daughter's 5. She's watched it, and she loves it. She's seen all the behind the scenes and practical effects and stuff like that, so she knows it's all fake. But she doesn't like the backburster scene, but she likes the chest burster. She thinks that's adorable.
I can't really deal with that.
I think they're gorgeous.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. Well, if you look at, on a serious note, looking at Dane and Matt's work, a lot of those kind of weird little drawings were actually, very, very gorgeous. Beautiful work.
What did you guys think about the score of the film, the music?
Score? Oh, I love the score. I'm all about
cool.
scores.
Yeah.
When we're painting, we're always listening to scores. Some of us like to listen to drum and bass and crazy European stuff. But I personally like to listen to scores. I think Wayne likes to listen to scores.
I personally prefer silence.
You work in silence?
Yeah, I start to get distracted by the music or things like that occasionally. Every now and again I might, but for the most part I actually paint in silence.
So he probably really liked it when we all wrapped up and he just had the room to himself. Yeah,
it was good. When these two bastards buggered off, I was like, thank God for that.
I love the score. I think it's a really nice tribute to the original. I listen to it all the time. Listen to it when I'm working, when I'm teaching. I listen to it all the time. It's great.
Awesome. Is there anything about the movie that you would change if you could?
Here you go, Wayne. Here's your opportunity.
Yeah. I'd have those crews tell the guys down below, hey, listen, no, sorry, we found an alien artifact. You don't understand. You don't get it. We're not coming down. Sort it out. Okay.
I think that could have worked. It definitely could have worked.
Right, and so what's to say the guy, the guy that got infected wasn't closer to the ship, maybe, and then that alien came up and started to, chase him through the derelict? Yeah, maybe,
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense that they left that so easily and so quickly. And there was no awe, there was no shock and awe about, oh my God, look what we're looking at here. It's like they walk up the mountain, which you can see for miles, by the way, and they just sort of notice at the last minute, oh look.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's a few things like that.
I'm not too concerned about those sort of specifics. I think the overarching pacing between the stuff that happened on the ship and the stuff that happened in the world. I'm biased because we did that. We worked on that. We went through this whole world building process of looking at stuff, even down to looking at ancient religions, prime numbers, and trying to make this feel as real as possible for the engineers. But I think I would love to have seen a bias on the ground, and we thought that, judging by the scripts that we were reading, we thought that's how it was going to be. But obviously, things shifted, things changed, and we saw a lot more on the ship, which was kind of a rehash of what we'd already seen. And for me, I just thought that stuff, I didn't want to see that again. I thought that was more interesting down the ground. But then we're biased. We worked on that stuff. We, immersed ourselves in that stuff for months and months and months.
The Covenant was cool, but I really did want to see more of the engineers and what was going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was kind of the mystery of the first one was about go and find them, find out if we can, if they've got that secret to immortality. And then you get there and there's nothing. It's like this dead world. There's another aspect. I know there's a little logic kind of, aspect, but so don't get me too started, but there's a scene where
you're talking about film business.
I'm talking about the story, right? So then David comes back and he drops the black goo all over the city, right? Now, he's been traveling with Elizabeth Shaw. Maybe she was alive, maybe she was dead. Who knows how long she was alive. But he's been traveling from Prometheus to the engineer world. And he's got access to that database on that ship. There's nothing he doesn't know about the engineers. Nothing. I can't imagine if they've got a database of the entire galaxy, which it looks like they have, something, close to that, then there's not a lot he doesn't understand or know about their culture their technology, where it is, what's going on, and how to use it.
Yeah.
So
did they have a database? Did they?
Well, yeah, there was a holographic room because they were going to go to work and all bullshit right from Prometheus. So he would have found a way to tap into that. He understands the language, etc., etc. Mm. So if your intent was to get to that engineer world and then wipe them out, you wouldn't fly down just and hover above the city, then dock with another alien or another engineer ship, and then release the goo.
It's pretty dramatic, though.
Visually, all right, but it's like
it's all about the visuals.
But it's stupid. You would have.
You think he would have bombed from orbit?
Absolutely.
Just like Ripley said in Aliens.
Hello.
Nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Oh, let's just do it from up here. It's safe, because remember the very
flawed, right? Because
because now he's an idiot?
No, because he's he doesn't remember his Mary Shelley versus he's getting things mixed up.
Yeah, but he's got
flawed.
But he's got a database in front of him. He's got tools. He's got the thing that says this is how it is. This is what engineer planet is, right? This is their defense systems.
Do you think he wanted to get close so he could see their demise? Because he's crying in the crossing, right? Supposedly feeling bad about the things that he had to do, wipe out the engineer race. What do you think the logic is behind that? Do you think he's just a bit of a psychopath that he wanted to see people die?
Well, then that would be the only answer.
Look on my wax, ye mighty, and despair.
What are your theories on how the derelict crashed? Because this is one of the most hotly debated topics.
How it crashed?
Yeah, because it was docked with the mothership, assumingly,
Yeah, you've got to watch the film about 700 times, and then you'll notice that mothership, or the mother jugger, as we called it. You'll see it further down the valley.
Oh, really?
Yeah, blink and you'll miss it.
We should hang out for that. Is that going to be on here? Hey, look, it's the wall ahead. Sorry. Distracted.
You seriously, you blink and you miss it, but it is further down the valley.
So you think they just drifted apart once he deployed the pathogen? And
if this black goo has gone all over the place, it's possibly gone inside or infected that other ship, and then it's they've tried to gain control and they've become infected and they've crashed.
So is your theory that the ships are alive and that black goo affected?
I have no idea. No idea.
No idea. Okay.
No idea.
Cool.
I just think this is what I'm saying. If you're coming down, and if those, whether they're organic, semi-organic, or not, or it's just purely technological, and that mother jugger has some idea of what you're about to do, it's like these days, if you're in an F-16 and you lock on target to another plane, to a MiG, the MiG knows you've locked on target. Like, we have the technology to know that, that guy's just locked onto me and he's about to fire a missile. You think this guy's not going to have something similar? The mother jugger would know, or whoever's in it, whoa, what's he doing? Why is he opening up the bomb bay doors? Why is he, this is not cool. Let's blow the guy out of the sky.
You should watch The Crossing again. I think these are questions for a higher pay bracket.
Yeah, I mean, we are getting out of our, beyond our station here.
Yeah. I did some really early concepts for that. And I did the Debbie Harry concept for that for Chris when they were toying with different ideas. And we never even knew she was there. We never even knew what was going on. We were only fed certain information that were required. But then, obviously, scripts did change, and for whatever reason, things shifted. But, there's always the question up in the air, what happens here? How are they going to tie up these loose ends? And then I finally did that painting of her on the slab that I think David shows and kind of explains what happened.
Walter discovers it.
Yeah. So I'm just I'm re-familiarizing myself with it all. It has been a while, and my timeline might have shifted a little bit.
God, it's understandable. Like us fans, obviously, we've been obsessing over it since it came out. So we've had a lot of opportunities to have a look at it and analyze it within an inch of its life.
The pathogen didn't accidentally deploy when you were landing. You released it, yes. I was not made to serve.
Is there anything that you guys put into either the concept art or the movie kind of as a little Easter egg that people haven't discovered or known about yet?
Did you get the Millennium Falcon in there anyway?
No, but I did do it. Well, see, here's the thing. If we were doing matte paintings, then you could hide shit in there and then people would see it. It would be in the movie.
Oh, really? I've done that before.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I put in the Sydney Opera House into the Fifth Element, the Rialto building from Melbourne into the Fifth Element, and a Qantas jet in there as well.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to watch that again.
You won't see it. You probably won't see it. They're pretty small.
But you can spot the Millennium Falcon in Fantastic Four in London.
Fantastic Four?
Yeah, have you heard of that film?
Oh, dude. You have. Fantastic Four. Jesus.
How many times have they rebooted that now?
But as a concept artist, that's not really our thing. That's not really our thing because it's more about it's a device or it's a tool for the director, and then therefore, by extension, the rest of the productions say, okay, now we know what that looks like. And so whether we put stuff in the artwork that ends up in the film or not is completely, by the by. It's not so much about that. I did this scene where they're on top of the roof of the cathedral, trying to get radio signals back to the ship and so on and so forth. Well, I did a whole Lord of the Rings thing on that. Because it looks like there's a shot of David standing there with, cloak, and it looks like one of the hobbits. So I added another hobbit, then put Gandalf in there, put Tower of Orthanc in the background, and a couple of eagles. Now, I got that printed out, and I slipped it into the other concept art, and it was all put on Chris's desk, hoping that he would just grab that pile and take it to show Ridley. But Chris went through the prints first and then found that one, and he comes around out of his office and says, "What is this?" He wasn't upset, but just like, nice try.
That's hilarious.
But that would obviously never have made it into the film in any way because it's just not, it's just me taking the piss.
That shower scene, right? You did the concept for that. I see a couple of people have spotted the eyeball that you put on the floor.
Yeah.
What's with the alien? Why did you use the wrong alien?
Because I don't give a shit about the alien. That's my job. No, seriously. No. Yeah. It's a serious question. I give you a serious answer. That's not my job.
So you just use whatever would work in the background.
Well, yeah, and we don't know where they're going with that sort of stuff and what the creature's going to look like and that sort of thing. And here's the other thing. That particular alien is owned by Fox. I was employed by Fox. Fox owns the material anyway. I don't care. It didn't matter that. It makes no difference as far as because that wasn't my job. My job is to flesh out the sets that were designed, that are to be built, and what are they going to look like photographically? Is if there was what's the photographic reality of that particular set, not what does the creature look like? Yeah. Because that's not my department, so I don't care. I literally don't care. It's not of importance. It's just there as it's to represent. There's going to be an alien there. That's it. Nothing more than that. Just like there's a chick there with a bare bum and the guy making out with her. That's not the actors. I didn't do it based on what the actors look like.
It's just what Wayne wanted at the time.
Just my little fantasy. Ridley did say he liked the bum. There you go. So he was happy.
But it's interesting, the way we generally work is we're at a phase or a period of the production where often we have no idea who's cast. On this project we had a wall of who was cast so we could work out if we had to get an...
But that took time, the pictures was kind of stuff
it evolves.
Coming in,
But, costuming usually is working in parallel, and they're usually not finished almost until production's ready to go, and often they're... on a lot of productions, there's not a lot of to and fro between costumes, so you're constantly asking, what do these guys look like? What are they, and so you don't know what the alien looks like, what the characters look like, so you put in something that may work, and what we try and do is always bring a narrative element. We're illustrating a story point, but the goal is to represent, say, a set or a location, but we always want to bring that story point, that relatable narrative moment into it. So you bring figures for a number of reasons. For the story, for scale, for whatever you've got to do to sell the idea. So in that sense, you've got to have a bit of an idea of what they look like. So we'll start painting stuff or creating stuff that we think is right or appropriate. And of course, we've got past films to riff on. So we can look at Prometheus, we can look at the other Alien films and use that as an idea. But often, well, more than often, our stuff doesn't quite look like how it's going to look until the later stages when we know what it's going to look like, and then we can go, okay, so they're supposed to have for instance, David's supposed to have a hood on, and he's supposed to look like this, and he's wearing his old gear. We didn't know that until literally a couple of months before shoot. So,
and it's concept art, so it's not meant for the public. It's really just a tool for the director and the production to say, oh, so that's what those words that were written previously as a script now look like. Now we can all agree that's what it looks like, and that's our goal. So when we build this, design it, paint it up, that's what we're after. That's the goal. That's the mood. That's the setting. That's everything else.
Sometimes you're on the money. Sometimes you're not with characters and creatures and things like that. But often it's a talking point. And if you've created a talking point, that's kind of what your job is to create that talking point between the production and. Yeah. It's interesting. It's an interesting process.
Yeah, that alien in the shower scene is nothing more than there's an alien behind that, steamed up glass. That's it. I mean, I was hoping that, Ridley would do something like the alien would, his tail would come up and he'd kind of scratch this circle into the glass. And then go, tap, and tap that, like a...
That would have been cool.
And then his mouth would go through the hole, like really slowly, like, hi. And then all hell will break loose. I mean, it's like, in the following shot where there's the bodies and so on and so forth, I've got that hand mark, the alien's hand mark on the side of the doorway. That's a story point. It's just a little thing of the alien pulling himself, or whatever the genre is, pulling itself out of that doorway. It's just suggested, all right, there was something there, and it was a creature, and there's a handprint. That's our job. It's not so much the exact details of what that damn thing looked like, because I don't care.
Well, that's good. We can put that to rest then, because a lot of people have been like, "That's not the right alien."
Oh yeah, whatever.
I actually did some early frames of that sequence in a completely different set, bigger set, and for whatever reason, they had to change the sets, and I jumped back off onto something else. I'm so glad Wayne picked up that sequence because I couldn't stand it. It's
So blood and gore makes you squeamish?
No, it was the rude bits. It's a little bit kind of,
no, it's just, it's not the sort of thing I wanted to, I was much better at, designing, jumping back on the Hall of Heads and focus on that space than this sort of weird story moment that I didn't really have an issue with. The main issue was the story moment in the script. I thought, it doesn't need this. What are we doing this for? But that's a personal opinion.
Yeah, that's all beside. That's just,
You've still got to do the job.
Yeah, you get told to do the job. And, that's my background as a photographer is what, if you were there with a camera, what would that look like? Given that, and we get given at the stage we came into it, we get given a lot of the set design. We got to redesign or to design some of the sets, but for the most part, the set design is out in the art department.
I got to totally design that.
Right, you
chamber, David's lab, David's room.
You did, and I got kind of like stuff from the other guys and Jack and Andy and guys like that.
But usually it does work the way you're saying. The drafters and set designers are actually have it heading down some sort of direction.
So I get a CAD model, I take it into Maya, and I remove, because when we say set designer, that means they're designing like the scaffolding that goes around and builds the set as well, not just what it looks like.
Yeah, the supporting structures, everything. Because how it plugs into the stage with the fire.
Yeah, can it hold 10 people and a camera crew and all that kind of stuff, and is there plumbing going into it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But whereas I'm only concerned about the photographic reality of what that might look like on screen. So I get given that CAD model, I strip out all the rubbish, and then I set up my camera from the cinematography point of view of it. And just what's that going to look like, and how is it going to be lit, and what are the colours, and so on and so forth. So
what were your favourite pieces to work on?
I don't care.
What were your favourite pieces to work on? Like the stuff that you did for the movie. What were your favourite scenes?
Well, that girl's butt was nice. Of yours. Well, I know it was Ridley's.
My favourite of yours was the Cathedral. I thought that was stunning. It was really nice.
But that wasn't my design either. None of that was my design whatsoever.
Yeah, but the way you put it all together, the level of atmosphere, the way it was lit,
Whose
the
design
text.
was that?
Well, okay, so we would get models from the set designers, like say the plaza. Say the cathedral, the columns, the statue on top of the columns, the gate.
Well, I built all those. The statue, the columns. I built.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't build the cathedral.
And in my concept art, there's two of your statues in there, right, on top of the column, and the rest was the 3D, Daz 3D figure that I used for one of my oil paintings.
I was probably much lower res.
So it was like,
mine was too detailed.
So it was like 10, yeah, exactly. There's like 10,000 of my oil painting characters on the top of those columns, but
actually, there's been a bit of a segue there. This was the first production that I've ever worked on where they took our ZBrush models, or they took some of my ZBrush models and milled them in foam. The Hall of Heads was one example of that, or was scanned and milled from maquettes, but the maquettes were built from my my milled ZBrush file. And then the columns were milled from a projected concentric circle texture that I played around with in 3D to get that kind of vibe. And then the Saint Bartholomew statue that was kind of the engineer that was riffing on Saint Bartholomew was all milled from the ZBrush model. So it was a very high definition model, broken columns, stuff like that. And this is the first production I've worked on where they did that. I mean, it all had to be surfaced, and it was surfaced beautifully by the on-set guys, matching different rock textures and finishes and weathering, and it just looked real, looked amazing. It was so cool walking around that stuff and checking out all that stuff after, you'd done a sculpt weeks earlier, and literally a couple of weeks later you're seeing it for real.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was very, very, very cool. And it's a massive collaborative effort, but it's a nice feeling when you think, that started off life as a ZBrush sculpt.
Do you think there'll be a future where you'd be doing all of these sculpts in 3D and then people are going to go to the cinema and it will just be a matter of putting a headset on and walking into that world and none of it will be physical anymore?
Maybe, I don't know.
I'm trying to remember what production was it.
I mean, I've got friends who are doing that now.
I know in Wolverine, or the Wolverine, there was, I'm trying to remember what I can't remember the exact set, but I know they had a digital set. It might have been the Snow Village, the village up in the snow where the Silver Samurai was, and the Yoshida Tower. I think it was that village. And what they did, the director was able to put on it was either with an iPad, it was like augmented sort of reality, and they could walk into the set holding an iPad, because they only build partial sets, they don't build the whole village, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And then you could look around with the iPad and or goggles, I can't remember which way it was, and see the extension of what it would really look like.
Whoa.
And that's a visualization tool for the director. So
yeah,
I know that was happening
that's used a lot these days.
I mean, Peter Jackson did it with the cave troll sequence on the first Lord of the Rings. He put on a set of goggles. He had a block of wood that had markers on it, and he was being tracked in real time, and that block of wood represented the camera, and he could see through that camera's point of view as if he was the filmmaker, as if he was the cameraman.
That's amazing.
But he was filming the animation of the fight sequence. Of the cave troll and everyone fighting and all kind of stuff. And he was walking around as if he was there filming that sequence. And that was all being motion captured.
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah. So that was way back in 2001. So.
I'm using Oculus Medium a lot these days, or in the past 12 months, for digital sculpts, just because it's the transition from real-world sculpting to digital sculpting it makes a lot of sense with something like Oculus Medium, and it's getting better and better. And it's much quicker to block out basic sculpts, and of course you can output that to refine in other software packages. And it just makes for a more efficient process. I haven't printed anything or had anything milled from an Oculus sculpt yet, but I imagine people are doing that already.
Going back to your earlier question about which is our favourite set, I think maybe the Plaza for me to some degree, but it was all mostly other people's stuff. And I would be the repository of all those designs and then put it together. And I put it all together in scale. Like everything was scaled to a human size. So that plaza in 3D world was literally 2 kilometers, in diameter. There was the iris in the middle. There was all the juggernauts underneath that iris, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the White Room, that first sequence, because that was one example where I built that in Maya and then it went out to the set designers. It was sort of a reverse situation. And I designed all that sort of stuff. And in my first iteration of the concept art, I had Wayland. And at that stage, if you see the original my concept artwork, he's older, it's much older, so I didn't know how old he was in the story. And he's walking from right of frame diagonally across towards David, sitting down. And Chris said to me, he says, no. Ridley, he's always left or right. So put Wayland over there. Have him go behind David so you see him coming from left of frame. I'm like, all right, but I think compositionally it works better this way. He says, no, left or right. So I do a second version, and it goes off, and it's approved. It's great. Anyway, so fast forward, I'd go to the set as it's being built, and they're using my concept art as the guide, and they want to know where my camera was, et cetera, et cetera. Then I'd go to the day when they're shooting and just sitting around, watching it all come together, and Ridley sort of got the camera in place and sort of rehearsing moves and so on and so forth. And they're looking at where Wayland will walk or Guy Pearce is going to, walk from what direction to where. And Ridley says, you know what? What if we have, he says, Guy, come over here. What if we have you walk from here across to there, which was the right to left, diagonal, exactly as I had in my concept art. And who is standing right next to Ridley at the time that this is being said is Chris. And Chris looks over at me, and I kind of, tap my hair, and I go, Ridley and I, we're linked. See, Chris, I told you, me. You wouldn't listen. I told you. So that was kind of funny. So that was sort of my favorite set because of it wasn't the set design so much, it was the compositional and the experience. The direction of where I thought that character should go, and that Ridley picked up on that, intuitively and thought, I think that's a better direction to go from. So those things are nice little verification of, what you're thinking, and at least you're on the right wavelength.
With the concepts for the White Room, I noticed that you put the triptych there, Bacon's triptych, 3 figures at a base of a crucifixion or something like that. Was that what he was originally going to put there, or that was just something that you thought you'd chuck up?
No. All that stuff is that's all dictated. These are all decisions that are made at much higher, as Ev says, above our pay grade. The Bacon estate wanted some exorbitant amount of money for the licensing to use that, and they just said, well, screw you. Go away.
I guess that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, and I heard that might have been the reason for the change of aesthetic choice for the movie, because we saw a lot of Kang Lee's artwork, which showed a much more Geiger-esque looking planet and culture for the engineers, and having it changed and switched over to a more Roman sort of looking culture might have been part of the pay grade, or sorry, the bill that the Geiger estate wanted to charge Fox for the movie?
I think it's more about the story as the script shifts. But I think those guys were doing stuff pretty early on when they were in kind of a pre phase. So, a very early stage where they're exploring some of that visual development. And there's some really awesome stuff. I checked it out, and we didn't even know he'd done that stuff. I mean, we'd seen a lot of the stuff that Steve Messing had done, and he did some really amazing stuff as well in regards to the engineer world. that predated all the stuff we were working on. But ultimately, it starts to change and evolve, and there's a certain requirement. And Ridley's very, very thorough. Ridley and Chris, their research and their key references are very, very thorough. Ridley will often reference fine art, classical art, sculpture. It's all very much chosen and placed, even in David's lab. And none of that is, I mean, a lot of the key elements in there are quite specific. There are a lot of stuff that the sculptors did, the odd guys did that are in there. But all the main elements are very, very specific that were chosen, referenced on classic art, fine art, sculpture, things like that. So I think the decision was very much a creative decision based on what the script required. And I don't know if these are the same engineers. Are they the same engineers? Are they offshoot? What are they? I mean, they're not the engineers that we saw in the first one, are they? I don't know. Are they the same size? We've got whole cultures there. Might be another planet. I don't know. These are questions that I don't have answers for.
I think that's kind of great though, because even people who have worked on the movies such as you guys, there's still that element of speculation. There's so many arguments that go on in the fan circles about whether they are the engineers or not.
Oh yeah, is that the military arm or the other arm? Who knows? There's questions for.
Yeah, because if you think about, say, standard. On our own planet we've got ancient architecture, modern architecture, and everything in between, and then you've got a stealth military aircraft. Now, those two design philosophies are very, very, very different. I mean, even the architectural variance between, say, 5,000 years ago to now is incredibly diverse and insanely different. But the idea of a stealth, bomber is very, very different. It looks very different. It has an entirely different intent. So there's nothing to say that all the craft design and so on is the military arm or some aspect of that sort of thing. So,
and I don't know if there are answers for this stuff.
No,
what I think
Chris would sit down and ask you, hey guys, what do you think about? What do you reckon? These guys are doing. What do you think? How do you think they manipulate rock and matter with sound waves or with electricity or whatever? Because they were talking about maybe the engineers discovered electricity before they discovered fire. That sort of thing. And we're like, I don't know, Chris.
What do you really think?
He's like, I don't know. Why are you asking us? We've got work to do here. Just,
But that said, it does open up this avenue for all the comic books and novels and all these other ancillary kind of ideas, and it creates that universe, right? It opens it up for that universe to answer a lot of those questions, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's really great that even though in a way we got all the questions answered from Prometheus, there's still a whole bunch of mystery behind the engineer race and how exactly David created the xenomorph and the engineer culture and stuff like that. There's definitely more for future directors to pick up the mantle and do more and explore more. It's definitely opened up the universe a lot more.
I'm just looking at, because we've got it playing at the moment.
Oh, there she is, there's Shaw.
Yeah, we just saw the Shaw. There she is. The more I look at it, and I haven't seen this for quite a while now, you know what? It's like, it took me a little while to figure out that Fifth Element was nothing more than a graphic novel. And I suspect that there's something of the same thing going on here with Ridley, because one of his biggest influences is Mobius, the graphic novel, a comic book artist, French artist.
Yeah.
And there's an aspect of with the scene where these guys they've left the shuttle and they're walking towards the forest through all that grass, the high grass and so on. Mm-hmm. There's a very obscure graphic novel of a not very obscure science fiction novel called The Forever War by Joe Haldeman. Now, There's an Italian guy that did a graphic novel way back in, I think it's like late 80s, late 80s. And I remember buying the 3 individual issues of this. And I'd never seen it since. Like, it's rare. You can't find it. Anyway, there's scenes in that of these characters walking through long grass in their outfits. Now, Chris happened to have a republished version of that, but just in French. And it was like 3 volumes together. And he had it on his desk.
Was it under the desk in the drawer or something?
No, it was just on his desk. And he had a bunch of shit all over it, as usual.
Yes.
And it had 10,000 sticky notes sticking out of every page.
I remember that moment, actually.
Right.
We were in there.
So I look and I go, what the hell? That looks familiar. And I pick it up and go, oh my God, this is the Forever War. And Chris says, I don't even know what it is. It's in French. I have no clue what that story's about. I go, that's the Forever War, dude. Which is interesting because Ridley had the rights to that as well.
Yeah.
And I think they recently lapsed. So he had bought the rights to it. He was going to make the Forever War. That would be epic.
Wow.
Like, he'd make that. You seriously got to look into that story. It's really cool. Anyway, and Chris says to me, he says, oh, by the way, that shot you're doing with the characters walking through the grass into the forest is, take a look at this. So Ridley saw that he had that because Ridley knows what it is. He borrowed it from Chris for about a month or something. And when he came back, it was just full of sticky notes and remarks and this, that, and the other. And he loves graphic novels. And I just looking at this film for the first time since we first saw it, there's an aspect of the whole graphic novel to it. And it's kind of like Luc Besson doing the same thing. You look at Fifth Element, you look at a lot of his stuff. It's a very graphic novel.
Yeah, it's very visual. I think...
There's drawings. We found... I don't know what you did, but I remember seeing some original Ridley Scott drawings that were on the server that he did like...
Ridley Grahams?
Yeah, no. It was just like a Ridley drawing, a Ridley sketch.
Yeah.
That was like Mobius wannabe.
Yeah.
But it was Ridley stuff. It was his own drawing.
The beautiful thing about...
And it's cool, it's cool drawings, like very Mobius.
Yeah.
So he's heavily influenced by it.
I think
he would have been a graphic novelist.
Yeah.
But he knew film and he understands photography and so on and so forth.
I think I know that the Covenant's design of the costumes and uniforms are all based on Mobius's designs.
Right.
So, it's definitely, he made a point of homaging a lot of Mobius in it. And of course, H.R. Geiger and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, Mobius did the original costumes for Alien as well.
Exactly.
Or was one of the designs for that stuff.
Yeah, before they ended up settling, I think they ended up having Chris Voss do the rest.
Well, those guys were, my understanding was there was a lot of overlap. Which is, this is the thing, when you look back in history, you go, there was that guy, then there was that guy, and there was usually overlap.
Yeah. I guess we'll only know from, the discussion with the art book. The only history and knowledge that we'll have is what's documented in there, and if that's inaccurate and people aren't credited, then it's lost, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, don't get me started on the art of crediting. Not just crediting,
Yeah.
Whether you like the Star Wars films or not, when Star Wars came out and they started to create those art of books, it was always the making of such an, whatever film, say, Towering Inferno. They could do those books back then, but then Star Wars came out and they started to actually produce really good quality. Here is the art that was created to make this film. And then there was a peak, and then it looks like it's dropped back off again, down to the making of and art of. And so you get a bunch of photographs of the cast and the crew and all that kind of palaver, and there's a little bit about the art. The Star Wars books are always heavy on the art, and they're really well credited and really well researched, and it's all correct.
Yeah, I heard that the original art books for Alien were correctly credited as well, and it's not that hard. I mean, all you have to do is make sure it's in the title of the images that you give, the name of the artist and what they were doing, and you've got the date there. It's not hard.
Look, I can understand if the artwork is being passed from, say, through 10 hands, and it's going from the production through marketing, through the publishing and through people within the publishing process to finally getting into the book, and then everyone's lost track of that train of the data. But if most other publishers can do it okay, then there's no excuse. You know? I mean, I know for a fact that on Lord of the Rings, the very first attempt at writing the Cinefex article for Lord of the Rings was completely rewritten by the publisher himself. He came out to New Zealand because the first writer screwed it up royally, and he came out and redid the whole thing from scratch because everything was miscredited, the data was wrong.
But there's no requirement in what we do to have our work.
No.
Ultimately, you know, we're concept artists. We provide a service. You know, we do what we do. There's no contractual obligation to get a credit. It's not our work.
No.
We don't own any of that stuff. The production does. It is what it is. It's nice to get a credit, but after a while you get used to art books and making of books that don't credit the artists.
Well, at least there's ArtStation, because that's how we end up getting the backstory, and Instagram directly from you guys, and having you guys discuss what was lacking in the art book actually, you know, started this whole process of me interviewing people and wanting to find out more about the movie. So, in a way, it's a good thing, but in another way, it would have been nice to have everything accurately recorded.
Yeah, because you don't know who's reading the books. You know, there could be a production designer someplace or an art director that's picked up the book and sees the artwork and like, oh wow, you know, that's kind of really cool, and maybe I could use them for my project. And if they don't know who you are, you know, you never know.
Yeah, you don't get chased up for anything.
I mean, those two rock stars downstairs, you know, who are doing all those arty-farty chuckle, sitting back on it, you know, wearing a smoking jacket and a cravat. What were they doing down there? I don't know. You know, they get the whole section in the middle of the book, and they get credited. They get a whole thing dedicated to those, you know, to themselves. And
they've got another book coming out soon.
Oh, apparently. It's amazing. So what's sold out in 2 days? It's amazing.
Let me remind listeners as to, like, when you see that, whoever sees that, because we haven't seen it. They haven't shown us yet.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Oh, yeah, but like when?
I want one.
After it comes out?
I want one for the new studio.
They haven't come up and said, guys, look, you know, we know you're part of the family. Let's show you first.
Well, Dane did say that he wanted to catch up with you guys.
That's what he said.
He said it on Facebook that he wanted to catch up with you guys because it's been a while.
Well, we've been sitting there. We sat there at the pub today. He didn't turn up.
He didn't. Exactly. I don't see him.
We actually didn't invite him. We should have. He's probably around.
Yeah. It's too big being a big shot.
We're back from SDC. They've done an amazing job.
That was my idea, by the way.
Really, oh, really?
Yeah. Because I walked down there and go, was it? Yeah, seriously, it was. Because I walked down there and they've got this, come on, it was amazing. It was fucking incredible work.
Yeah.
I so wish I had stolen most of that. You know, there was plenty of opportunity to walk down there when I was late at night, because you're working late, right? Could have gone down there, swiped a few, rolled them up, easy. eBay, you know.
They're always there.
6 months later. They're
working longer hours than anyone else getting those drawings.
Well, I know. That was the only problem. That was still there.
They were guard dogs watching the set like a hawk.
I said to Dan and go, dude, you guys are going to do like a book where it's just David's diary. It's just all his stuff. And it's not the art of. It's a diary of David's work and nothing but that stuff. He's like, oh, that's a really good idea. I said, well, duh. And
thank you for giving them that idea, because now they've got an in-world diary, and there's going to be a lot of arguments as to whether this is canon or not. But you know,
look, it seemed pretty obvious, and I suspect they would have thought of it anyway. But
yeah.
Have you got one? Have you got a book? Have you seen it?
I've pre-ordered it, and Dane's flicked through. He did a live stream and he flicked through and showed it to people. Actually, there's a preview now online where you can actually see a couple of pages.
I don't remember getting the email from Dane. Hey guys, here's the sneak peek. Here's the.
I've heard all about it.
Oh, here's the link to your special coupon code. Big mates, right? You know, like where's that? Where's the coupon code, Dane? I want to. You know. The mates rate.
I haven't checked the letterbox. Mate, I haven't checked the letterbox yet. Maybe it's in there.
Maybe. Yeah. Who knows? I hope it is. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Here we go. If you look carefully in the distance, you'll see the busted...
Crashed.
Yeah, the crashed Mother Jugger.
The Mother Jugger. I love that name.
So there's the alien. She's shooting at it. She's tethered to the... Where is it? Come on. It's soon after this. Bang. Where are we? Come on. That's it. Over the cathedral and way back down there is where that was.
Okay. We should screen grab that, actually work out
Bit
what it was.
hard to see on that screen there, but I think it was just before when I was up. Maybe it's after the sequence.
It's tense. It's a tense sequence.
Yeah. So she's, tethered up, hanging off the lifter, screaming, "You bitch!"
You're such a disappointment to me.
What has it been like after the movie came out? I know that Ev was giving a talk on the VFX that was done on the movie, and Wayne won an award for his work.
You were at the first talk, yeah?
Oh, at the AIT?
Yeah.
It was you, me,
Gerhard,
and
Damien.
Yeah,
we did talk in Sydney, all of us, and then Gerhard and I went down to Melbourne and did another talk down there. And then, Wayne won an award for his work from APDG, which I accepted and made a little bit of a speech. Because he was busy working on something, I think. And I was in Melbourne at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Was like having that sort of recognition good, or is that something that usually happens, or was this the...
Happens to me all the time.
Second? That's your second one?
No.
First
That's
one.
the Australian Production Designers Guild. So it was the first time. I thought Ed had already won one. Dane won, not Dane, Dane, screw Dane. Gerhard won one the year before.
Yeah,
What's his work? That's the film he worked on. Wasn't Unbroken, was it?
No.
Oh, was it Wolverine?
Maybe.
Could have been Wolverine.
I'm not sure if I was there in that one.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I don't know about him either. He's not making the cut.
It's nice to do the talks. That was this thing that was organised locally with the production and APDG, and it's nice to go back through the work. And we had one of our art directors, Damien, who sat down and put together a pretty good presentation, and we just kind of supported that. And then we did a live version of that down in Melbourne because there was only just the concept artists. But yeah, it's nice to do that kind of stuff. You don't often get to do that stuff on productions locally. So it's nice to do that.
Yeah, there's not much going on down here. And there's always, interested in how the stuff's made and what your role was. And given that we both teach here at this small school here in Sydney, illustration school, production art department, our students are always surprised by the reality of how this stuff works. Oh, but I thought you just do cool stuff. Oh, yeah, it is cool, but there's also a lot of other stuff that you have to do that's not so much cool, or it's not the way it doesn't work the way you think it does. It beats working in a factory, and it beats smashing rocks on the side of the road. That's for sure.
I haven't done that before, but
I've worked in a factory.
No, smashing rocks.
Clean public toilets too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Melbourne. Yeah. When I was going through RMIT photography, every second morning, 5 o'clock.
Wasn't just after Alien Wrapped?
No. I saw Alien. What, you mean the very, very, very first Alien?
No, Covenant.
Oh, Covenant. Yeah, back to cleaning toilets. Yeah. As soon as Covenant wrapped, I was back to cleaning toilets again. Yeah. Arts. Yeah, that's my main job.
Captain Daniels, please report to the med bay. Repeat, Captain Daniels, please report to the med bay.
apart from Alien, what sort of like movies are you into? I know Wayne's a fan of Star Wars.
Well, Empire.
Oh yeah.
If you have to say, are you a fan of Star Wars? I'm a fan of Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Star Wars is cool.
It's alright.
I grew up. Well, I was born in the 70s. And I grew up in the 80s, so of course I'm a Star Wars fan, but I think, if it wasn't for Star Wars, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing today, so you kind of got to give it that credit.
Yeah.
But personally, I like historical stuff. I like historical fiction, I like historical films, I generally don't go for sci-fi or comic book films. I'm more into dramatic films and beautifully shot dramatic films. I like stuff that's all captured in camera rather than created. But I guess that's the thing. We work on these films, and it is what it is. But I've always loved Alien, and I love working on Covenant. It was nice to I guess be part of that lineage, that started with Alien, and obviously went through Aliens with Jim Cameron and through a number of amazing artists, and finally, we got the opportunity to be
Vincent
part of
Ward?
it. Yeah.
Oh,
and his treatment is amazing. I don't know if it's still up online, but I think I mentioned it to you last
Alien 3,
written.
Vincent Ward's, original.
But he's released all that stuff on his website, all the visuals, and it's such a cool story. It's such a wild story, and you can see where Fincher kind of took where he started and turned it into his own thing, or kind of watered it down, which I really enjoyed. Actually, I'm one of those guys who liked Alien 3.
Yeah, same here.
But I think Vincent Ward's is amazing. I'd love to see something, even if it's not part of the Alien universe, it's something different. But some of the
because he actually had that giant wooden, monster in space.
Are you guys excited about the comic that's going to be coming out?
Yeah, no, I'm not interested in that at all. Actually, I'm really interested in seeing a visualization of the Vincent Ward script. I think that would make an amazing comic book or graphic novel. I'd love to do that. Personally.
Yeah, that'd be
awesome.
Interesting. He's a cool guy too. We've worked on you did the Singapore Airlines stuff with us. I've worked on a couple of commercial projects with him. He's a cool guy.
That's awesome.
My first experience with Alien was in my media studies teacher at Footscray Tech had a pre-release copy, and we had a full theatre. Well, when I say theatre, we had a theatre without chairs, and it was a co-ed school by then. It was mostly boys' school, so there were more boys than girls, but they just introduced the girls, and the teachers wanted to go out for a piss-up, so they said, hey, we've got this space monster movie, cram all the kids into this theatre, shut the door, and they'll go out for a beer, and they just hoped that we'd all, shut up.
It worked?
And, this is the surprising thing, because Footscray Tech and all these guys and all these kids were all just nuts. And whenever we got shown a film, it would be rowdy, no one would be paying attention. I'll tell you what, from the first, 3-5 minutes of Alien, the place was dead quiet. And it stayed that way right throughout. And that's when I knew I was seeing something masterful. Because there was Star Wars before that, and then there was Alien, and it was like, Star Wars kind of kiddie sci-fi, and Alien was a little bit more serious, a lot more serious. I was like, wow, this is amazing, and that kind of changed. And we were all sitting on the floor, there were no chairs, we were just like, kids sitting on the floor. I was like, holy shit, this is incredible.
I wish my school showed Alien, they wouldn't dare show that.
Well, we saw an actual, full 35-minute print. As long as it was my mini study. Yeah, media studies teacher. He was a DJ in Triple R at the time. Footscray Tech was way back then. Was the first secondary school in Australia that had a full working TV studio. We didn't transmit, but we had a full working TV studio and media studies and that sort of thing. So he was somewhat connected into that sort of thing. And back then, Star Wars had come out. It was a big deal, but still people didn't give a shit about science fiction. So Alien, what's that? Oh, no one cares. Just here, take the print, show your students. So I didn't even see Alien in the theatre. I saw it at school.
How about you, Ev?
I think the first time I saw it was probably like a VHS copy from Video Easy that was a bit dodgy, and I think I saw it at a friend's place up the road because I would never have been allowed to have seen that when it came out. It must have been when like their parents were away or something and decided to put Alien on. But I always remember it. When I was young, I loved Aliens. I loved Alien. I loved the military aspect of it. I loved the way it was shot. I loved what Jim Cameron did with it. I loved the characters. I loved the one-lines, you know. I was all about that. But then I kind of rediscovered Alien and then found a new love for the visual appeal and just the tension. And it's, for me, it totally trumps Aliens. Aliens is a lot of fun, but Alien is an amazing film. It really is.
Yeah, it's up there with Blade Runner and
2001. It's
Lawrence of Arabia. And,
yeah.
Was the white tree in the courtyard? Sorry, going back to the work that you did on Covenant. The white tree in the courtyard, was that supposed to be some sort of reference to the white tree in Blade Runner 2049, or that was just something that was thought up?
I have no idea. I don't know what. We're looking at a lot of. What are we looking at? We're looking at infrared photography. You know, when you've got those infrared photography shots with the trees with the white foliage. But no, I don't think there was any connection or reference. I don't know, maybe there was.
Because I know there were a couple of parts in the script where it seemed like they were rehashing the battle between Roy Batty and Deckard with Walter and David Fine.
Yeah, well, the connection with 2049, I guess, was, I don't know, maybe that was something with the tree, but that was happening in another country. I guess really was over both of them. He was, after Covenant wrapped, he was straight over, right?
Probably during as well. He was the executive producer, so he would have been all over that. He would have been getting updates. So.
Yeah. So I don't know about that connection, but
I thought it was just an interesting thing that you mentioned. That's all. So because we've got no images, so I'm just going off description.
Yeah, I mean there was this whole gravesite as well, which is pretty cool. It was more an older gravesite representing the elders of the religion or the leadership of the planet, which was sort of based around the cathedral. All this stuff was kind of hypothetical and what we're working on. We're trying to give it kind of cemented into reality by creating this, I guess, hypothetical backstory without knowing the full picture. You kind of do this with your concept art, and sometimes they run with it, sometimes they don't. But then your scripts change, things change. You go, oh, that's a shame. I really enjoyed that. That looked really cool. And it became less part of the story, and we did something else. It still looked pretty cool. And it was an interesting. Initially, I didn't think it would really work that well. I thought just tagging this Böcklin, this Arnold Böcklin painting on the side of the cathedral was kind of. I don't know about the idea, but then I think it resolved quite well. It looked pretty cool, and it's a nice little homage to Böcklin's work that we've never ever seen in cinema before. So it's pretty cool.
It's a nice little homage to the creator or designer of the front door, that opening, that sort of broken shell sphere, which is the over the stairway of the cathedral.
Oh yeah, that it's from former Yugoslavia. That was brutalist sculpture. So
yeah, some Soviet era, sculpture, which really just like lock, stock and barrel. Yeah, I'll have that. Oh, thanks very much.
And there's also the constellations on the walls and that big door of the artist. I can't remember the artist's name.
Yeah.
Such a long time.
Yeah, because that was some of the reference.
Yeah.
There's like things like that. For example, like the inside of that shell, that was, one of the things I had to throw in there. And Chris just said, can you get some artwork or something in there? So here's a bunch of reference. So I just go through the reference and pick one,
Oh yeah, William Blake.
It wasn't, people look into this stuff and go, oh my God, there's a story there. What does that mean? What does it mean? It's just some piece of art that I've just picked up from the reference folder that I've been given, and I just go, yeah, I'll use that one.
But then you think after the fact, maybe that meant something. Maybe that's why it was there. It's kind of like St. Bartholomew. Ridley's like, oh no, this is the reference. And Chris is like, this is the reference. Just spell that, but make it look like an engineer. And it's like, okay, off we go.
Yeah, maybe.
Swapped it up, and then after the fact, you start to research St. Bartholomew, and you go, oh, okay, this is really interesting. How does this plug into the whole story? Is it just because it looked right visually, or is there another level that the powers that be have decided upon? It's it's up to us to just integrate it and make sure it works visually within the concept art. But often, we're just not privy to that stuff. We can hypothesize about it. It's purely our opinions, but we're just not privy to that.
Yeah.
And you might put stuff in concept art because it's, your imagination does start to run and you start to add things because you're looking for this sort of life to the building or to the space and to the structure and its history, and like we can look back to frescoes in our own past, and so you'll throw that sort of stuff in. So there is a sense of history, a sense of story, a past and a present. It's run down, it's chipped away, it's broken. It's just, you just start thinking of those things. These are the natural.
Chris did want that. He wanted a sense of maybe not just one culture, but this is the layers of history that existed, just like our world.
Yeah.
If you head to Rome, you've got multiple layers, multiple histories.
Yeah.
That are really evident.
Yeah, you look at Uruk in Iraq. It's like there's layers of those ziggurats and all that kind of stuff. Like they've found multiple layers of villages and so on. And same in Turkey and all that shit. Multiple. So stuff's all fun. Great. Add all that.
And then is your statue one that you did
on top of
the giant statue.
The giant statue.
Yeah.
Oh. There was the two dudes I put in front of the cathedral, and Chris said, take them out.
Isn't there like a namaste?
Yeah, there was the two kids but that was based on another reference that Ridley had.
Okay.
And I can't remember what the original painting is.
Oh, you mean the four figures that are kneeling around the
there's
the iris?
They're sort of they're a child engineer. Very tall, very thin child, sort of like child, maybe 8-year, 10-year-old child kind of, age.
Yep.
And there was an original painting that Ridley gave Chris as a reference, and I can't remember what that painting is. And so I just did a jazz model of this, elongated thing and just put it in the same pose, and that became one of those sculptures. I don't know whether they used that model or not. But
yeah, I noticed that when we were watching the ship fly around, the lander fly around, isn't there? Lifter. It just reminded me. Yeah.
Oh, and the what is it? The cargo lander ends up decapitating one of those statues. Is that the one?
Yeah.
All right.
David vomiting. Oh.
That scene was very strange.
Yeah, I like that. I thought that was great. I thought we could lose that whole shower sequence. I didn't think that really worked, but this ending sequence was great.
Yeah, apparently he put that in. He was inspired by the cartel. He wanted to think about a way that David would smuggle those face huggers onto the ship. So it would be through his stomach. Interesting.
Yeah, I've got one of those little pieces.
Really?
No, not the alien one. Just the standard human colony.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, what I would give to get one of the little Xeno ones. They look really cool.
Well, you're out of luck there. I mean, there weren't many made, and I think even Dane tried to swipe one of those, but there was just no chance. There weren't too many made, and they went to Ridley and producers and so on. But there was tons of the other ones made.
I just got to bug Colin Shover for the 3D print. Print them myself.
Yeah, make a new one.
Yeah.
All right. With the whole idea of the end of mankind, the coming of AI, this sort of fear peddling which Ridley's doing in Alien, do you think it'll come true? This sort of not so much that AIs will become self-aware and destroy mankind, but, will we end up being surpassed?
Do you think this is a warning? This is like a cultural warning, or do you think it's just...
I think it's building on a religion for robots in the future. David's their Jesus, you know what I mean?
Are you sort of within the Alien universe?
In the Alien universe and in our universe as well.
Well, yeah, who knows what the next one will be like, but it's clear that that colony ship is basically and somehow all those species end up being the eggs in what we know of as the Alien film.
How? It'll be 46.
Well, somehow.
Yeah, well, 2,000 colonists, 2,000 eggs. It's
right.
Sounds the reason, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where they're going.
Pick up on that.
That's where they're going. What happens between there, and how does that crash? How does that ship crash, and what happens to David? Is there's the last part of that little tale before Alien.
But it happens to land on a planet that's already has crashed.
No. Because this is all pre-Alien.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a ship crashed there already. No, whenever David starts with all these, colonists,
yep.
Right? Well, that's where he's going to end up.
Yeah.
How that happens, we don't know yet.
There's a theory that because the engineer, fossilized head of the engineer in Prometheus was found, and it was carbon tested to be 2,000 years old, that the derelict is already on LV-426 with engineer with its guts busted out, but maybe not the eggs. Maybe the eggs come later.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, it's alright. Yeah, maybe. I mean, okay.
We did the numbers on the dates, right? When we were working out the technology.
We were kind of figuring out how Prometheus. Why was the Prometheus ship so damn advanced compared to the Nostromo, which is came 40 years later, and blah 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 blah, and all that sort of stuff. That's one of the aspects of the original Alien film. You saw the jockey in the chair, and you go, "Wow, this is fossilized. That's how old this thing was."
Yeah.
So there was this race, super predates humanity in every possible way, and that was mysterious and interesting. Mm. Is that still there? Is that a separate thing? Is how old engineers really are, or did the engineers find their technology and just sort of rip them off?
Well, that's the thing. Like, there is a theory that the space jockey is actually the creators of the engineers, and they were destroyed by the engineers because they were their creation, and humanity then destroyed the engineers because they were their creation, and so on and so forth. So.
Yeah. I know. As far as AI, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't think. It's hard to say because I've seen a number of videos showing AIs being fed all of this information, the style of a certain artist, and then the AI coming up with an art piece inspired by all of the culmination of those art pieces, that they were able to copy the artist's style, paint something completely original, not based on any particular person or a figure, but actually create an original piece. And art specialists not being able to determine the difference between the original artist or the AI's piece of work.
Okay, well, give the AI a script and say we need concept art for this thing right here, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it wouldn't be able to do that.
I don't think our jobs are under threat just yet.
Well, that's good.
At least not from AI anyway.
Mm. And especially with the technology being able to walk into a world painted in 3D, there's definitely different ways that your work can be enhanced by this sort of technology, is just like the prints of the statues and stuff like that, the textures used on the city in Alien Covenant and so forth. It's, if anything, it's kind of made what you do work on the computer come to life a lot more directly instead of a person's interpretation of an interpretation.
Yeah, Alien Covenant was a good one also for me, because I got the opportunity to sculpt not only the ZBrush models for early Hall Ahead stuff, but I also sculpted some maquettes for the concept model maker. It just made sense. I was sculpting the big ones in ZBrush, so I may as well hand sculpt some small ones in scale for the concept models, which are, still used on productions, foam core models, with little figures at whatever scale they were, 20-something millimeter scale. And it's used to stage, it's used to work out spatial ideas and how it fits into the set and all that kind of stuff. It's also used to stage where the camera will be, where certain things will be. And it was nice. I got the opportunity to sculpt some traditional heads for that, which was nice. And so I went from that to the digital sculpt to the milling to, it was kind of the whole process.
That's really amazing that, so much was able to come across like that, to have that final piece and even walk onto the set and see your work. It must have been very surreal.
I've got one of the maquette heads right here, the little ones, and just in resin, and there were a whole bunch of those that we made. And to go from that to something on the stage that, a whole massive team has contributed to craft and finish and weather so that it looks like authentic, archaic stonework is amazing. And especially when it's cold and damp and they've, washed it down and it's lit, dark, it's really, really amazing. To the point of a little bit overwhelming.
Have you ever worked on any, I guess, movies like the way Covenant had turned out, or since?
I think that was the biggest set that I'd ever worked on and seen through progress. No, I think that's probably had the biggest impact on me, seeing it from the early stages. And that said, the very early concepts of that space were done in the States by Steve Messing, and we changed it up quite a lot and had to plug into this new cathedral that Wayne had been working on. But essentially, the early concepts started off in the States, and then we picked it up, we modified things, we developed it, the script shifted, there ended up being that battle around, that was up in the scroll room, but we added the scroll room onto it. And of course the guys, Dane and Matt, did a hell of a lot of scrolls, and all those scrolls, I think the majority of them had artwork on them, yeah? Probably rolled up.
Yeah, every single one apparently.
Which is pretty insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing that set finally with lit, wet down, even with some of the talent there during shooting, we were there. They were on a break in between shooting. We were there, and it was super impressive, and it was a lot of fun. A really good experience.
If you could sum up Covenant in a sentence, what would it be?
For me, having kind of watched this in silence while we're talking, I'm going to say a graphic novel. It's only because I remember watching the film and going, what the hell is this? And as that was being made, we would see the shots come in and it's like, God, none of this makes sense. But when you actually understand some of the original source material, it's a graphic novel. And I think there's a fair element of that in this. Because if you take those shots and you put them onto the page, there's a certain level of pacing that a graphic novel will have. Like, you can't go into large passages of dialogue and nothing really happening. You can get some sort of tension in a graphic novel, I suppose, but I think, and I could be completely wrong here, but I just think that's where he's going with it. It's more just, if he could do it as a graphic novel, he would have.
Was that one sentence? That's a long sentence. I think, one sentence, I think for me, it was an amazing opportunity to contribute a small part to the Alien universe, the Alien franchise that I kind of grew up with.
Yeah, well, that goes without saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a real buzz working on it.
Yeah.
And working with this guy here. We occasionally work together on projects, but, I really do enjoy working with a team of artists that I respect, a team of artists that will kick my ass, and hopefully I can, kick their ass a little bit as well. We inspire each other to kind of work harder and better, not just visually and aesthetically, but with the technology, and, it's fun. It's fun kind of with this camaraderie, and, there is a little bit, I guess, of competition there, but it's all friendly. It's all good. It's a good experience.
Yeah, it's healthy competition. Yeah, those sort of projects where it's a part of the franchise you grew up with that you really wanted to be part of, that had such an impact in your creative choices as a young person to become an artist, that working with people you do respect and admire, whose work is amazing, everyone's at the top of their game. Yeah. There may have been, politics and bullshit that had gone on in the project in some part, in some place, in some area or some department, but I certainly wasn't aware of it. And it certainly there was none of that where we were in the art department. Yeah. The production designer was great. The, production assistant or art department assistant, Tanika, who, pretty much controlled Chris. If it wasn't for her, the place would have fallen apart. Everyone else, on that floor, the set designers, Damien, all these guys, Andy and so on and so forth, Tony and whatever, Jack, all brilliant people.
And ultimately we have a ton of respect for Ridley and what he does. So.
Yeah, it's Ridley Scott as well, so you've got all that. And it's to have all that and to be that kind of film, I wish the film was like, I wish it just ticked every box that you would like it to have ticked, but that's okay, because the experience itself is not the film. The experience working on the film is not the film. And so you can come away and say, yeah, well, that was one of the best years of my life. Yeah. It's like I had a great time working on, the Wolverine.
Mm. Yeah, so did I. I worked on the first Wolverine, X-Men Origins, and that film doesn't have a good reputation at all, but fun film to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah, good team, fun film to work on.
Awesome stuff. Is there any other directors that you'd like to work with in future? Or any movies you'd like to be able to work on in future? Anything that hasn't...
I'd love to work on the Dune remake.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'd give both my kidneys and liver and maybe both my balls for to work on. Definitely Dune, that'd be awesome.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be sort of cap. I'd retire.
We're in trouble there for a second, but it's fine. We're fine.
What did you guys think of the most recent Star Wars movies?
Loved it. Took my little guy to it. And actually, my daughter came along, my wife came along, and my daughter fell asleep. But yeah, my son loved it. I loved it. So much fun. It felt like I was rewatching Star Wars again. It was a ride. I had a lot of fun with that. I thought Disney were doing the right thing.
I really liked Solo, but I didn't like The Last Jedi. There's something about it that I didn't like.
Talking about Solo.
Yeah, that was alright.
Loved it. Loved Solo. I want to watch it again.
It's definitely a film that I can rewatch because it's just very entertaining and funny.
Yeah, it's good.
Awesome stuff.
As soon as the Ewoks turned up in Jedi, I was like, alright, that's it. That's all.
Solo.
In Jedi.
Yeah, but there's none in Solo. I don't like it. There's a big...
Look, dude, you're talking to a guy that basically climbed out of his bedroom window as a kid every night for 2 weeks and snuck up
to the driving
theatre, right? Yeah. I jumped the fence, turned all the speakers up, jumped back on the fence and watched Star Wars over and over and over again. Yeah. And it'd be like 11 o'clock by the time I got home.
That's amazing.
Star Wars and Empire, but not...
No, just Star Wars. But that was between... Star Wars had already come out, Empire was about to come out. And so they decided to do a rerun of Star Wars to get people kind of, wired up for it. Not that they needed it. And so they're running out the drive-in.
So you saw that and you saw Empire?
And then I saw Empire.
Did you see Jedi there?
No. I saw Star Wars when it first came out.
Yeah.
And then prior to Empire coming out, they did a rerun of Star Wars.
Okay, sure.
And so I ran up to the drive-in and I watched that every night. And then Empire came out in 1980. And I saw that in the cinema.
Yeah, I saw Jedi in the cinema.
And I saw Jedi in the cinema. I interviewed Anthony Daniels.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think I saw Caravan of Courage in the cinema too. Did you hang out for that one?
No. Did you hear that? No. Ewoks. It was like, that was it. As soon as the Ewoks made an appearance, I was like, oh, come on. The whole Ewok thing came right out of that book called The Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Mm. That was a sequel novel that Lucas got. I forget the author's name, but he, just in case Star Wars didn't do as well as it would have done, he thought, I'll get this guy to write a cheap sequel that I could make as a cheap sequel. Anyway, so they got this planet, and there's this kyber crystal, right? This sort of force amplification crystal, right? And the theory is that there's this big crystal there someplace. Anyway, Darth Vader turns up. Now, Luke and Leia meet up with this indigenous race that are indigenous to the planet. Well, that's kind of that. I think just human form.
They were supposed to be Wookiees, yeah?
No, these weren't Wookiees. This was a different thing. It was like a cheap-ass sequel, right?
Yeah.
And that was his whole thing of the primitive tribes overcome the Empire. Yeah. So the same theme played out in that. The same story plays out where they overcome the Empire and the Stormtroopers, and they get away.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things about that story, though, was that Luke...
Sticks and stones beat lasers.
Right, exactly. But in that story, there's a scene where Luke has to, open a door or pick a lock, and he makes an adjustment to his lightsaber, and it comes out and gets this tiny little pocket knife size lightsaber.
Adjust the crystal.
Yeah.
The amplification.
These tiny little... And then he goes... And, carves out the lock. Of course. It makes perfect sense.
So I had a big Ewok cuddling toy when I was a kid, so, I can't really argue in this conversation.
Did you have the bedspread as well? Do you have the Dunicolor?
No, I don't think so. I just had the cuddly toy. Yeah.
I just got a message from Matt Hatton. He says hello.
Screw Matt. Oh, Matt. We said Dane for a second. Sorry.
I'll catch up with Dane later. Thank you for talking to us, and, best of luck for your future projects, and I look forward to finding out what this thing you've been working on with Ridley is when it eventually comes out.
You may never know. It's just one of those things where, we get asked to do stuff that's, pitch material or some possible project. So who knows what goes on, as Eb said before, it's like sometimes these things are way above our pay grade. Just get asked to do some artwork, and whether it makes the light of day or not, who knows.
Yeah. So is there anything that you'd like to say to our podcast listeners before we say goodbye?
I don't know.
Good night.
Trying to think of some witty line from Aliens, but
space.
Go outside, get some fresh air, maybe. Stop watching alien movies. Don't worry, we're nerds too. It's all right.
We do go outside. I go outside.
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you had to when you went to Rome.
Yeah, that was outside.
And then inside, in the galleries.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time outside there. It was amazing. That's one story.
And you tell that Aaron guy, he owes me $50.
Oh, really?
No.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All I know is that I'm going to be real careful about what I tweet from now on. That's all.
Oh, yes. That's another topic for another time.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this.
We'll cover that afterwards. All right. This is Mother and Wayne and Ev Shipard signing off.
See you later.
Good night.
This is Colony Ship Covenant, reporting. All crew members apart from Daniels in Tennessee tragically perished in a solar flare incident. All colonists in hypersleep remain intact and undisturbed, on course for Orgai 6. Hopefully this transmission will reach the network and be relayed in 6 years.
You can now support Yutani Podcast on Patreon and subscribe to yutani.blog to stay up to date